Welcome to another week of Cowboys Special Edition, brought to you by AT&T. I'm George Reba. Last week's game in Houston certainly raised some questions about the team's offensive production, but not so for the defense, which seems to be getting better and better every week.
Fourth down and goal from the one. Watson is flushed out, running right. He's running for it to the corner, and he is slung down short. He is caught by Jalen Smith.
The Cowboys' third loss in as many games on the road might be enough to derail some units, but for the Dallas defense, they seem unfazed. Jalen Smith's play at the goal line to end the first half was a momentum builder that for a while carried into the second half.
Critical situation. I told D-Law, Tank, I told him, do what he want, I got it. So basically, the defensive line, they were able to do whatever they wanted, and I'd cover them for him. He escaped the pocket and made a play.
One of the games that we should have won. And that's life. Like, you just learn from it and kind of go from there. But we'll look back on this and we'll understand, we'll feel this pain and understand how we can use it to be constructive.
Overall, the Cowboys defense slipped a few notches to 8th in the league after allowing 463 yards of total offense. Keeping their opponent out of the end zone has been very productive. The Texans were allowed just 4 field goals in 10 possessions following their only touchdown.
Yeah, I just thought we did a really good job when they got down in the tight red zone a couple times tonight, and a number of different guys stepped up. Jalen was all over the place. They're chasing their quarterback down. Their quarterback is a challenge. Very good in the pocket, can get out and make plays with his feet, both running and throwing it. And a number of times down there, we just stayed after him and stayed after him and stayed after him and prevented him from getting the end zone. And Jalen seemed to be a big part of a lot of those plays.
I mean, we just want to be relentless. We want to be relentless. It's a fight for every inch. That's what we pride ourselves on, being a tribe and loving one another. We showed that tonight. But there's plays out there that we can get better on.
All we got to do is continue to do right, and that's what we preach every day. Just go out there and do right, and just have your brothers back out there. And it's just about doing right consistently, and when you do that, you'll be happy with the results.
Another defensive stand came in the fourth quarter when a pass interference call on Tyrone Jones gave the Texans a 1st and goal at the 1. Still, the Dallas defense did not give in.
Well, clearly we didn't do enough. I think we had, 2 turnovers, which is good, which is productive in what we want to do. But as a defense, we want to find a way to win the game. We want to find a way to get our offense as many opportunities to score the ball as possible.
Our goal is for them not to get down there, but if they do, try to defend every last yard. We were able to do that a couple times in the game. And then, we've been lacking on turnovers, obviously, throughout the first few games. So to get that one right at half and set our offense up, that was good. We need to, we need more of those types of plays to give ourselves a better chance to win.
Coming up next, we'll hear from Stephen Jones and get his thoughts on the Cowboys setback in Houston as we continue on Cowboys Special Edition, brought to you by AT&T.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. The Salvation Army, doing the most good. And by AT&T, more for your thing. That's our thing. This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket from the Texas Lottery today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big.
Welcome back to Cowboys Special Edition, brought to you by AT&T. Time now to check in with Cowboys Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones, who talks about the game in Houston as well as the continued development of the receiving corps. Here now is Nick Eatman from DallasCowboys.com.
Thanks a lot, George, and we're here with Stephen Jones. And Stephen, we're full swing into this season now. 5 games in, got another big game coming up against Jacksonville. We can talk about that one a little bit. 2 AFC games in a row. We'll have to start, though, back disappointing last Sunday night against the Houston Texans. Walk us through that one a little bit, just how close that was to get that win and how tough it's been this week to deal with it.
Well, as we all know, anytime you go on the road, it's difficult, and they certainly presented problems. I mean, they got 2 of the best pass rushers on the league. And some of our guys, as Will McClay said, 2 monsters, 1 on each side. And then, of course, they got an up-and-coming young quarterback that is multidimensional. I mean, he keeps you on your toes. he did some Houdini escapes in terms of getting away from us. But, you know, in general, we gave ourselves an opportunity to win the game at the end of the game as well as in overtime. And we didn't get the job done, but there are a lot of positives with this football team. We're playing good, solid defense. It's a good young defense. You know, you look at it, it's deep, but we've got depth. We didn't have Malik or David Irvin out there on this particular game, didn't have Sean Lee. So, you know, there's a lot to be positive about on the defensive side, and then we know offensively we've got a good, solid offensive line. Hats off to them. They did a good job of stopping the run. Obviously, our biggest challenge right now is executing in the passing game, and I think that's just a work in progress. It's getting the right combinations down. It's getting rhythm down, and so far we've struggled, especially on the road. We've struggled getting in a rhythm and getting behind the chains on the offensive side of the ball, especially in the passing game.
You know, there was a lot of talk this offseason about getting a #1 receiver. Do you need that guy? Is it better to have different ones? Of course, you can make the case when Houston got their guy, Hopkins, he was making play after play. Do you think that has been a problem here for Dak of finding out who's my go-to guy here?
Yeah, I think it's a little transition period because we did, you know, with Dez, you know, he was our #1 guy, and that was kind of the way we played our offense. But, you know, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that don't have #1 receivers. They don't just fall in your lap. Obviously, when you have one, it's nice, and you certainly can do it does a lot of things for the offense, not only in terms of that player being able to make a play like Hopkins did against us, but it also opens things up for other players. So it's certainly something that we knew we were going to deal with. We made a play in free agency for a #1 type receiver. We didn't get him, and we've put together a nice core of receivers that we just have to continue to work on execution, to work on getting in rhythms and getting Dak comfortable with those receivers as well as our tight ends. So it is a work in progress. It is something, though, that I think will only get better as the season goes, and we do have a lot of positive things on this football team.
And Tavon Austin's a guy that he seems like you guys have made just as many plays when he doesn't get the ball, fakes to him. Mm-hmm. So his presence is definitely there. Is he a guy you'd like to see a little bit more this week?
Well, you always want to, you know, when you're looking for answers, you may think, well, that may be the answer. So you certainly think that he's going to play into it. I do think other teams' defenses have to account for him. I think he does open some things up, whether, like you said, the fakes, the quick screens, the things that he's involved in certainly can turn into plays. And we've seen him stretch the field. He's certainly got some great speed out there that causes defenses to pay attention. But it's nothing more. There's not a silver bullet here. We've got to go to work. There's no #1 receivers laying around on the street out there, so we've just got to get to work.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, there's a lot of people that think you can just go and find a guy, and as Bill Parcells used to say, you can't just go down to the convenience store and just pick up what you need.
Right.
All right, appreciate you joining us here. Stay with us, though. We're going to talk more about, unfortunately, there's another really good defense coming to town here this weekend, so we're going to talk about that, plus an emerging guy on offense. So, George, back to you.
All righty, thanks, Nick. Coming up next, we'll visit with one of the team captains, defensive tackle Tyrone Crawford, as Cowboys Special Edition, brought to you by AT&T, continues.
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket from the Texas Lottery today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. Here we go. This segment is brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas.
Welcome back to Cowboys Special Edition, brought to you by AT&T. The Cowboys defense allowed one big play last week, and that big play was very costly. Sean Lee, one of their team captains, is still sidelined with an injury, while another captain on defense is doing just fine. Tyrone Crawford is the most experienced defensive lineman on the Cowboys team. The seventh-year pro from Boise State is known for doing the dirty work inside at defensive tackle.
I'm a big believer in this system, and Coach Marinelli and everything he does. So, I know what's supposed to happen if we do everything right, and that's what's happening. And the times where we do it wrong, big plays happen, and that's the thing. Like if we could just get everything right, the system takes care of everything.
He's a very versatile guy. We've used him in a lot of different spots. Due to injury, we moved him back inside to play the 3 technique, and he just shows up. You saw that in the game the other night, his ability to penetrate and disrupt in the running game, and also, as you're alluding to, his ability in games to draw attention and take on 2 blockers and maybe free some opportunities up for the other guys. It's big time, and it shows up week after week.
In the last game in Houston, Crawford was on the field for 66 plays, more than any other defensive lineman on the team, not to mention another 6 plays on special teams. He has the most tackles on the defensive line and is tied with defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence for the most quarterback pressures. Lawrence credits Crawford's pressure inside for helping him get sacks from the outside.
It's important. It's definitely important to collapse the pocket, and that's one thing that I pride myself on my whole career is just being able to give no step up, and that's one of the things the quarterback get frustrated with. If they don't got a step up lane, then they usually have to keep dropping, and that helps the ends out big time. And luckily we got guys inside that can do that.
Crawford showed that he may be the most unselfish player on the team when he moved inside to give Taco Charlton more playing time to help speed up his development.
He played well for us when we had him at defensive end, and he's one of those guys that just helps your team in so many different ways. His leadership, his example, but also his production at a couple different spots. And particularly on the defensive line, when you tend to move guys around, or if you have an injury, you can say, hey, no, you go play end this week, or you play end in this situation. We're actually going to play down inside in base. And that makes a big difference, and it allows us to put other guys into positions where they're most comfortable.
You know your assignments and know what to do. You can go in there and make some plays. And thankfully I can go in there and let Taco get more reps because that guy can rush, and he just needs to show his stuff. He needs to have more reps to do so. So hopefully we can get him down there in some more third downs this week.
Crawford likes the leadership role that comes with being a team captain. He's one of 5 players on the team who played college ball at Boise State. The other 4 are Lawrence, rookie Leighton Vander Esch, Cedric Wilson, and recently signed Darian Thompson.
This is definitely strong here, but it's good to have, man. It's good for Boise. It's good for our guys. And, it's good for this team. I feel like the guys that come out of Boise are hardworking guys. Chip on shoulder type guys. Didn't have much in college, so we don't feel entitled to much, and we just come out and work.
Coming up, we'll continue our conversation with Stephen Jones, who talks about a player whose numbers keep improving every week as we continue on Cowboys Special Edition, brought to you by AT&T.
This segment was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Here we go. This segment is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing.
Welcome back to Cowboys Special Edition. We now rejoin our conversation with Chief Operating Officer Stephen Jones and Nick Eatman from DallasCowboys.com.
Thanks again, George, and we continue talking with Stephen Jones. And Stephen, as good as the Houston Texans are on defense, and we saw them last week, 2 great players with Watt and Clowney, Jacksonville's coming to town, and they got a lot of good players as well. They've been building this thing for a few years, and even though they took one on the chin last week against Kansas City, who might be the best team in the NFL, they're going to be ready to go this game probably, and it's going to be a tough one.
Well, absolutely. Anytime you're backed into a corner, we are too. We've lost our last game now, so this is a big one for us. It's a big one for them. The good news for us, it's in AT&T Stadium, and we've got great fans who are going to be out there hopefully creating a great environment for us. But this is one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in pro football right now. They've got a lot of great football players over there. They're certainly going to present challenges for our offense. But at the same time, I think our guys will be up for the challenge. I know they'll go to work this week. I know they're more driven than ever to come up with answers in terms of how we can move the ball better. And then, of course, on the defensive side of the ball, we'll have to do yeoman's work over there as well in terms of doing everything we can to shut them down.
I'll flash back to the 2016 draft. Those top 5 picks, they're all playing really well. Some of them have been banged up, but you had Zeke there at number 4. You didn't really hesitate. was Jalen Ramsey's been really good at number 5. Was he a guy that you liked as well, or Bosa was in there at 3? Or
well, he plays for the other teams now, but at the same time, we love those players.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know it was well documented that we were hot on those guys, and would have been happy probably with any of them, but Zeke was our first guy that we wanted, and we had reasons for that. We had Tony here and a good offensive line, and felt like that if we could, keep some of the pressure off Tony, keep Tony standing, and keep him to where he could do what he does, then we could have success. As it turns out, it worked in Dak's benefit and helped bring a rookie quarterback along, and we've certainly been very happy and wouldn't trade him for any of those guys in terms of Zeke being a Cowboy.
You got some familiar faces coming to town. Their special teams coordinator, Joe DeCamillis, was here for a while. Also, you have Barry Church, a guy a solid key player to this secondary for many years. What's it like to go see those guys? That's kind of the nature of the league now. You see guys every week that were here at one point.
Well, it's great to see them, and you're talking, two of the top guys we've had around here. Obviously, Joe's one of the best special teams coaches in the league. Did a lot of great things for us. And then, of course, Barry Church epitomizes what you want in a football player. He's not only a great football player on the field, but a class act off the field. You'd like to keep them all. Certainly, we've been fortunate with our drafts, and so we've had to pick and choose some along the way. He's one of those guys that we lost that you hate to lose, but certainly happy that he's having success. But we do want to get the best of those two here Sunday.
One way to do that with the safety position usually is the tight end. And the last few weeks, it just seems like we're seeing more and more out of Jeff Swaim. He's got big shoes to fill, obviously, with Jason Witten being gone. But I'm starting to see that comfort level with him. And also, he's kind of making some plays down the field. You like what you're seeing out of Jeff?
Absolutely. And I think he really, is the blueprint for what we need to happen with our offense in general. He's certainly coming along. Rico made a play. I think this can happen with our receivers as well. It's just getting the right combinations, the right groupings together, get the rhythm in place, get the execution in place, and so that we have more of those type of stories with our offense. We've got that running game intact. It's just a matter of, having a few things work out for us and have some good things happen, and I think we'll be pleased.
All right, well, we want to see some good things Sunday when the Cowboys and Jaguars square off. Jacksonville, one of the best defenses in the league, but you know what? The Cowboys have a pretty good defense as well, so it should be a good one. All right, George, back to you.
All righty, thank you very much. And coming up, we'll wrap up the show on Cowboy Special Edition, brought to you by AT&T. Welcome back to Cowboy Special Edition, brought to you by AT&T. This week, the Cowboys play their third home game of the season against Jacksonville, the #1 defense in the league. Now, that includes the best defense against the pass, which will provide no break for Dallas's struggling passing game. The Jaguars have played at AT&T Stadium just once before, and that was back in 2010. For Alan Hearns, it's a chance for him to face his old teammates for the first time after leaving Jacksonville during the offseason.
I got none right now, but for sure, it's one of those games. It's like you're playing against your brother, or, you don't want to lose the game, But for right now, I don't have any emotions, just trying to get over the loss, and get mentally prepared for this week.
He knows what those guys will do, how they play alignments, things like that. I think they're really helpful with the rest of the guys, knowing what what kind of plays that, hey, if you run this route, if you don't run a good route, this guy's going to be all over this. And so, yeah, he's got a pretty good feel for them as players and going against them. So we spent a lot of time talking about it.
That's our show this week. Be sure to join us again next week as we look back to the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars and look ahead to the first meeting of the year against NFC East rival, the Washington Redskins. That game will take place at FedEx Field. Thanks for watching. I'm George Reba.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by Ford. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T, more for your thing. That's our thing. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.